Hey everybody, Rob here. It's time for a brand new NuclearRevenge story and a story from the NuclearRevenge archives. First one, you pay for it one way or another. Let's jump right in. Our story is from years ago. I used to work for some kind of full stack agency as a coder, doing websites, desktop applications, and integrations for customers. Life was good and it even got better after managing to provide an important customer with 5-star hotels all around my country, with a great website, with integration to their ERP, and also mobile solutions which didn't exist then in my country. A headhunter had found me. He offered nearly triple the salary I was getting, and it was impossible to say no to that. I informed my employer, gave him a generous notice of a month so I could wrap up the last projects. Let me warn you that I was a very young and incredibly trusting person then. When my employer told me there was some problems and I'd have to receive my last salary with the next one, I accepted. Last day of my job, when he asked me to sign the paper that declares I had nothing indebted to me by that company, I signed it. I was a moron. I was young. They never paid, of course. Even though being stiffed that way was a lump in my throat, I tried to gulp it down. I worked hard at my new job, trying to prove that I could do better than I did before. But another sneak attack from my ex-employer was the last drop. One day, I arrived at the job. My new employer called me to his room. He explained that my ex-employer reached to him and told him that I was lazy, a liar, worthless, and it wasn't worth the effort to have me as an employee because they were about to sue me, so I wouldn't be able to do any work with all the legal stuff. I was beet red. I apologized for being a nuisance, and I said I'd clear my desk instantly. He laughed cheerfully and said, "You've been working for me for 2 weeks. You completed 2 high-quality websites and half of a desktop app. I'll cut my own throat before I fire you." Still, I was so shaken that he had to give permission to me to leave early. It was Friday anyway. I went home and cried, not because of sorrow, but rage. I couldn't touch them. I just couldn't. I couldn't? That's the day I fired up Google and typed "how to hack" for the first time in my life. The first response was a forum in my native language. I started reading, and gosh, I had a lot to read. Coding and hacking are, even though they share the same expertise, vary so much when it comes to details. I confess, it was then impossible for me to think like them, but thankfully, the forum crawled with helpful technical tutorials telling me hows and whys of every exploit I could use. As I said, I was young and a moron. Back then, I had my own mini admin framework that I used in every website I made, and I just realized there was a crucial mistake I made in calls to create new records. Users, pages, new items, galleries, everything. I wasn't checking the authorization at all. It would be nearing impossible for a hacker to use this because he wouldn't know or get exposed to the exact call, but I knew it. It was about 6 a.m. when I finished reading. I used public transportation to go to the other end of the city. I found an internet cafe where the young attendant didn't care about IDs and which didn't have any security cameras. I sat in a corner and started breaking every single website I made for them. There was one about pastry materials, a website consisting of over 1,000 ingredients. In the main page, a random assortment from each ingredient type would be shown as a gallery. I replaced about 20 of them with images of, human waste. Only 20, so a viewer who got used to it wouldn't realize the error until some time has passed. I made the chief physician of a hospital page the angel of death itself, with images and a special bio. People don't look into physician bio pages, so I was sure it wouldn't be found out for long. I made an announcement in ultra-nationalist party's A's website that their #1 enemy would be giving a speech. In a local newspaper page, I made all old videos instead link to the famous Loituma video where an anime girl spins a leek in her hand. Slowly, a few websites a day, I broke every single website I made for them, approximately 60 websites or so. The backlash from customers seems to have been furious in a domino effect. He lost his customers' trust and his references, which simply means everything for this kind of job. Once the proud owner of one of the best agents in the region now tries to work in a tiny office, making a living doing third-rate websites with his meager skill. Even though I never met him during this period, one of my friends was working under him until the last moment. I loved listening to his struggle to find out how I did it. They knew I did it. They just had no way of proving it, while losing more and more customers every day from my friend. I don't know if this suits the phrase nuclear, but at least the cold satisfaction I get whenever I walk past his tiny office these days may be considered nuclear. There was some discussion in the comments on this story whether this one really qualified to be nuclear revenge or not, but you have to think, this guy completely ruined this other person's reputation, destroyed their company, and made them nothing. I'd say that's completely nuclear. On to our next story. Racist NCO tries to destroy my life? Best think again. Let's jump right in. Spent the majority of my life in Uncle Sam's army. Lots of great friends and fun times. However, as in all companies, yeah, the army is just corporate America, just with pew-pews, lots and lots of pew-pews. You get scumbags in power over you. This is one story that the statute of limitations is over, because my god, looking back, man, I was evil. Anyways, I unfortunately got injured in line of duty about 10 years into what had been a great career. Ah yes, the days of wine and song indeed. Because I was on injured limited duty, I got the shit jobs. Supply, gate guard, charge of quarters, 24 hours on, sitting at a desk, answering a phone with 24 hours off after, wash, rinse, repeat. Zombie is what you become. The Broke Dick Brigade, as we called it. I got assigned to S4, Battalion Supply. I was a pretty good dog robber, as it's known. Think Radar O'Reilly and his deals with Sparky for good toilet paper on MASH. My old boss was a semi-retired master sergeant who, of all things, had retired on active duty, gone ROAD as we call it, from freaking Delta Force. Total badass. He went into supply because A, he knew it, and B, as he put it, he was too old to be shootin' and lootin' no more. He was like an older brother, very tolerant on me and my end of career blues. I was being forced to medically retire, and my marriage was on the rocks from it. Welp, unfortunately, Cool Boss retired before me and left me at the mercy of a skin color obsessed asshole. Dude from day one was all over me, no slack, constantly making up crap about my performance and trying to take over or muscle in on my deals I was making for the good of the unit to line his own pockets. He was the very epitome of a racist. Comments about not being in the club with him and his boys, the other troops in the S4 shop, outside of LC, were all of the same skin color, and they lorded it over me and LC all the time. Snide remarks, giving us the worst details, making us work late when there really wasn't a need. That was part of the program, and if one thing I learned in the army was how to suck it up and drive on, so as to not rock the boat. Until I had a deal on some unused MREs that were coming back from the field. Cases of them, like pallets of them. I had a line on 2 whole pallets, and it was my deal. Anywho, without going too far down the rabbit hole, MREs, once issued to the field for a field exercise, have to be used up or trashed. Great .gov spending, eh? I had a line on at least 2 pallets worth that were being thrown in a dumpster. Me and LC went and scrounged them out with the intent of reselling them to the local surplus stores. We loaded him up in his pickup and took them to my house to store, which is when Sergeant Racist called the cops on us. See, we didn't include him on this particular deal because, well, he was a racist dick. Besides calling the fuzz, both local and army, he lied and told the CID, Criminal Investigation Department of the Army, that I had been stealing and hoarding explosives and ammunition because CID knew that what we were doing with the MREs wasn't illegal. So, cue the SWAT team military-style raid at dark early, terrorizing my now soon-to-be ex-wife, pregnant at the time, to find my supposed illegal stash. Think flashbangs and being violently handcuffed in the dead of night. Of course, they didn't find shite. MREs, yes, nothing else. No apology, no nothing. Cost me my wife, my kid, my home, my security deposit, and my sanity. Cue Nuclear Revenge. I went back to work when the BS investigation was over. Sergeant Racist was all cock of the walk more than ever, and making snide remarks that a insert color boy like me should know my place. I was all, okay dude, you're next. I waited 3 long suffering months, playing the ass-kissing subordinate, the whole time plotting. We started making calls about Sergeant Racist to the MPs anonymously, setting the groundwork for the big bust. I scored 2 8-balls, 1/8 of an ounce, hence 8-ball, of some seriously good cocaine from some of my more shady companions in the unit. They figured I was going to melt my brain, what with the divorce and BS I was living through. I didn't. I held on to it. Then, once everything was in place, I struck. See, in the army back in the day, you'd have a quarterly piss test. Fill a cup under the eyes of the meat gazer, as we call the urinalysis NCO. Total pain, but hey, they also do piss on demand. Needless to say, I made sure Sergeant Racist was in line for a royal butt blasting. I seeded the sugar bowl with 1 8-ball and made sure no one used it except Sergeant Racist and his cronies. The very fact that they were so obnoxious to everyone around them, no one ever came down to have a cup of Java in the foreshop while he was in charge. And man, the guy had a mad sweet tooth when it came to his coffee. 4 heaping tablespoons each cuppa. Needless to say, that consumption rate was enough to get it in his system hard. Then we seeded his car. See, his car was a classic Volvo with inoperative locks, and LC, coming back from lunch, stashed one of the 8-balls in the glove box. Then, once in place, an anonymous call was made that he was seen dealing out of the car at lunchtime and that there was a significant amount of blow in the glove box. Cue the MP showing up and demanding a search of the car, which they did, and the defense was, anyone could have put that there. The MPs, who'd been also told that he was not only selling but using it, were like, well now, Sergeant Racist, why don't you come down to the MP station and do the whiz quiz right now? And that should settle it. The second they took everyone out, I took the sugar bowl, dumped what was left in the oil sump, and rinsed it in gasoline by submerging it in a fuel can. I fished it out, washed it with Palmolive, and refilled it to almost the exact level it was when I dumped the tainted batch. Then, I dumped a small makeup mirror with Coke residue in his desk drawer with a straw just to put the nail in the coffin. We were sitting in the office when the MP showed up to toss it and piss everyone from the shop. Lo and behold, me and LC were the only guys who didn't pop hot for Coke on the whiz quiz. Apparently, he didn't help his case by getting violently angry and assaulting the MPs during this process. They fried all of his minions and him. Sergeant Racist, after 19 years of service, was imprisoned for I think it was 5 years and given a dishonorable discharge. Mess with the bull, get the horns. I've gotten from the comments that some people might not know what an MRE is, so it's food, but it's described by another Redditor as cardboard in a foil wrapper disguised as food. There's really not much to say to wrap up that story. I think OP wrapped it up very well, and I'm still sitting here in shock. I want to thank both OPs for posting their stories to the NuclearRevenge subreddit. You can visit them at the links in the description below. Please go there and give them an upvote. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.